Hey, what's happening, everyone? It is I, the man, the myth, the mustache, Tim here with a brand new video for you. Welcome to Season 3, Part 1 of What If Deku Had Full Counter. Please sit back and relax because you are in for a treat. With that out of the way, let's get the story going, shall we? Kamino Ward was reduced to a war zone. The main spectacle was All Might trading blows with his old foe. All for One could tell the symbol of peace was holding back to prevent casualties, and the old foe was taking full advantage of that weakness. Kiyo wasn't faring much better. He hadn't so much as scratched Muscular, while the heavy hitter had landed several blows. The Spitfire was certain he had fractured bones, but he had to keep fighting. From the corner of his eye, Kiyo could see his friend struggling. Kick that Kylo Ren wannabe into next week, Mighty! Whoa! Don't think I forgot about you, big guy! All Might saw Muscular nearly take off Kiyo's head. Kiyo! The distraction allowed All for One to land a heavy blow on the symbol of peace. All Might nursed his wound as his foe stared him down.
Your inane friend seems to be a bit more rational than you. You should be coming at me with all you've got. Not only will it make it more satisfying to destroy you, but because if you don't, you'll lose, and I'll destroy those you hold dear all over again. What would Nana think if she saw you do that?
Keep her name out of your mouth! A fire ignited in All Might's soul, the power of One for All burning brightly. Todoroki was holding his own against Toga and Twice, but he couldn't get away fast enough to escape. Until more help arrived, the UA student was on his own. Twice was starting to get creative with his razor whip, and Toga was just becoming more determined to reclaim her peppermint cutie. Todoroki would run out of steam at the rate things were going. The group made a makeshift catapult to launch Bakugo and Izuku. The jade-eyed boy clung to the explosive blonde's back, while Ida and Kirishima adjusted the angle under Yaoyorozu's guidance. "Where's Shinzo?" Yaoyorozu asked. "He said he was going to find a vantage point to observe the area. We should find him before—" Ida was cut off by Kirishima. "There's no time!" "Kirishima's right! This is our only shot!" Though weary, Ida nodded. They'd have to find the Insomniac after they saved Todoroki. While the students readied their catapult, Shinzo snuck his way closer to Muscular. Granted, he shouldn't be anywhere near the fighting, but the 1C student had gained some new tricks since he started training with All Might. And there was one in mind that would help Kiyo survive his deathmatch with the Psycho Killer. "You two ready?" Ida asked. "Go for it! Let's light this candle!" Kirishima cut the restraint rope and the boys went flying. The commotion didn't go unnoticed. Hope sparked within Todoroki upon seeing his classmates. "Sho-chan! Ivory Tower!" Todoroki summoned all of his strength to make the tallest ice tower he could. The spire stood over 20 stories tall, an impressive feat, even if the half-and-half teen was in peak performance. However, given his current condition, Todoroki was pushing himself beyond his limits. He fell to his hands and knees, breathless and dazed. The only thing keeping him awake was the sheer cold of the ice against his skin. "You better survive this fall, Skywalker!" "You too, Darth Maul!" Bakugo took Midoriya's hands and aimed him at the top of the ice spire. The childhood friends smirked to each other before saying split. Explosions popped off of the blonde's hands, while the jade-eyed teen triggered counterforce through his. The two separated at high speeds. Izuku was rocketed towards his cousin, his kitsune markings glowing brightly. Shoto couldn't pull himself to his feet. He was too drained. Midoriya swept Todoroki into his arms, and counter-jumped away, shattering the ice tower over the vulnerable League of Villains. The operation was executed with such efficiency that it took a few extra minutes for everyone below to process what happened. Kiyo watched his son fly off with his nephew. A prideful smile came across his face as he was momentarily distracted. He was brought back to his fight with an overpowered punch to the guts. The Spitfire was sent flying before crashing into a slab of concrete. It took him a second to catch his breath. "What's the matter, lightweight? Don't tell me you keeled over and died already." "Nah, I'm still kicking, and I'm fixing to kick your ass. Descends now, Muscular. I have the high ground. Fire expelled from Kiyo's mouth and gauntlets. Muscular didn't flinch as he leapt effortlessly behind the Spitfire. The fire breather didn't expect the big man to be so fast on his feet. Muscular grabbed his left arm and crushed it effortlessly. Kiyo tried to fight back his screams but failed. His pained cries rang out in the desolate Camino ward. Some time ago. You in there, Toya? That was a pretty nasty hit you took. The Azure Arsonist opened his eyes. He saw his uncle standing over him, a hand extended to help him up. Toya took his hand and got to his feet, feeling a bit dazed. You gonna be all right? Yeah, I think so. What were we doing out here again? Concern was clear on Hisashi's face. He explained to his nephew that they were training, but would stop for the day. Both men enjoyed the breeze and fresh air. For the first time in years, Toya felt at peace. Your flames have been without guidance for a long time, and have extinguished many lives. Despite all of this, I still believe you can push back the cold and cast out the monsters. I don't understand. You're gonna have to make a tough choice real soon. So what'll it be, Dabi? You ready to come home? The Azure Arsonist awoke to the war zone of Camino Ward. That was a dream. A memory. Dabi saw Shigaraki tending to the unconscious Kurogiri and Yitsuma. The only conscious members of the League were Twice and Toga. Shoto was nowhere in sight. Maybe he got away? There wasn't time to investigate. He was distracted by Muscular's deranged laughter and Kiyo's agonized screams. Dabi stood slowly, aghast and unsure of what he should do. Kiyo kicked Muscular square in the nose before wrapping his legs tightly around the villain's neck. The Spitfire had strong legs and was desperately hoping he could asphyxiate the massive man. Muscular chuckled as Kiyo's rippling quads became a vice around his throat. The absolute desperation of the smaller man was quite amusing to the villain. Wanting to see how much abuse the hero could take, Muscular started punching Kiyo in the ribs. The smaller man breathed through the pain as he aimed his fire gauntlet at his opponent. He fully intended to set his face ablaze, but Muscular grabbed Kiyo's other arm and tightened his grip, feeling the bones breaking beneath his fingers. He couldn't keep up with the facade anymore. Kiyo screamed bloody murder as his legs fell slack. He tried to give Muscular a taste of Dragon's Wrath, but the jubilant butcher headbutted the Spitfire. Blood spilled from Kiyo's newly formed head wound.
You're not as tough as you thought, lightweight, but you were fun to break. Now for the coup de grace!
Muscular raised his catch and began to pull the hero apart. Kiyo could feel his shoulders pop from his sockets. Defiance was clear in the pro's stare, but he couldn't stop the torture himself. Blue flames struck Muscular from behind. The shock and pain caused the big man to drop Kiyo. Taking his shot, the Spitfire unleashed Dragon's Wrath. Muscular backed away from the flames before falling off the collapsed building. He crashed through layers of concrete before disappearing through a window. Kiyo followed the trajectory of the wayward flames to find a wayward soul. Dabi made eye contact with the Spitfire hero. There was stillness despite the ensuing chaos, as a jubilant smile came to Kiyo's face. Dabi also smiled, but his was sorrowful, regretful even. All for One forcibly activated Magni's and Kurogiri's quirks. He was exasperated that his pupil had ignored his orders. Either way, All for One sent Shigaraki and the rest of the League away. Dabi was pulled through the portal. Kiyo tried to pursue, but his injuries caught up to him and he collapsed. It hurt to breathe as he laid on the cold concrete. Maybe he'd lay there for a while. Recover for a moment. Muscular was livid as he pulled himself from the rubble. He was severely burned, but he ignored the searing pain. He knew Dabi would betray them after interfering with the UA kid's interrogation. Muscular was going to murder Dabi for his betrayal. Someone approached the murderer without fear. Muscular was ready to throw down, no matter the opponent.
Hey there, Wagyu man. You? I'll kill you for making a fool of me!
Muscular barreled at Shinzo. The UA student crossed his arms pretentiously as he stared down the raging bull.
You're arrested.
The villain's advance grinded to a halt. The man lumbered over Shinzo, a familiar blank and empty stare on Muscular's face. Oh my gosh. I'm lucky that even worked. Now, that you're back under my control, Sleeper Agent, here are your orders. I command you to go to the nearest police station and tell them you're turning yourself in. You are to cooperate with the authorities every step of the way, no matter what. Once you're securely locked in a prison cell, you're going to sleep for 48 hours. Now go. Muscular shambled away. Shinzo hoped the brainwashed villain would make it to his destination without causing a scene. But the young man had to get out of there ASAP. Things sounded like they were getting serious, and Shinzo needed to rendezvous with the others. With distractions out of the way, All for One started to go all out against his nemesis. All Might was hesitant to do the same. He could only assume that there were still people in the rubble that he didn't want to hurt. But he knew that Kiyo would tear him a new one if he held back. Either way, the symbol of peace was running out of time. The embers of One for All were burning out. The Flame Hero was racing like a bat out of hell, so much so that Edge Shot was having a hard time keeping up. He couldn't blame the number 2 hero for his expedience. The life of his son was on the line, and, for all they knew, everyone else's lives on the other team as well. Communications with Tiger's team went dark some time ago. In any other situation, no news would have been good news. The 2 heroes came across the devastated Camino. Slack-jaw at the massive amounts of destruction, they saw an imposing individual in a black mask floating high above the ground. A scrawny figure stood defiantly against the villain. The old man had blonde hair and was wearing All Might's uniform, obviously too big for his small frame. Having minimal understanding of the circumstances, Endeavor and Edge Shot had a short-lived assault against All for One. They were able to hold off the symbol of evil long enough for All Might to get his second wind and do battle once more. Endeavor noticed something out of the corner of his eye, and his heart dropped to his stomach.
Kiyo.
Endeavor couldn't get to the Spitfire's side faster. Kiyo's uniform was badly damaged, torn apart on his left side. Blood spilled from a head wound, and more covered his bruised body. His arms were horribly mangled. The Flame Hero timidly shook his cousin's shoulder.
Kiyo? You better be alive.
There was a twitch from Kiyo's fingers as his eyes fluttered open. The Spitfire sat up painfully as he looked up at Endeavor.
Where's Dabi? He must have escaped. You need a hospital.
We need to help Mighty. Hell, Drake Nova is our only hope. Kiyo began picking himself up as his cousin looked on in disbelief.
Heldrick, Kiyo, you're in no state to be fighting, let alone using that combo. Leave that monster to the other.
Endeavor was pulled to Kiyo's eye level by the smaller man's less broken arm. The anguished flames in Hisashi's eyes made Enji's blood run cold with fear and worry.
If Mighty is defeated by that Darth Vader wannabe, all of Japan is screwed!
He needs us, and we cannot hold back.
We could end up killing All Might if we miss.
Then don't miss, meathead.
Hisashi, you could die.
Letting go of the Flame Hero, Kiyo composed himself the best he could as he wiped some blood from his face. The Spitfire smirked confidently, despite the reality of the situation.
Going out with a bang doesn't sound too bad.
Endeavor knew he couldn't talk his cousin out of this. Besides, there wasn't any time to argue. The Fire Brothers quickly got to a vantage point to prepare their ultimate combo technique. All Might was fighting with every last ounce of strength, switching the remaining power of One for All between his arms. The old man's only plan was to hit fast and hard. All Might also had to keep All for One's attention on him and not on the flames forming behind him.
Ready when you are, Kiyo.
Endeavor held a fireball above his head. The Spitfire was a few yards behind the Flame Hero on an elevated platform. Though his vision was blurred, Kiyo set his sights on the coalescing inferno. Orange flames sputtered from Kiyo's maw, followed by blood. He fell to his knees as he coughed up more blood. His signature goggles dropped from his face, one of the lenses cracking on impact. Kiyo stayed like that as he forced himself through his pained breaths.
Well, Pa, guess I'll be seeing you in hell real soon. Ugh.
Taking a final breath, the Spitfire unleashed a desperate yet powerful dragon's wrath. The blue flames merged with Endeavor's fireball. The mini-star flared and grew as its core changed color. All Might dodged All for One's attacks. The frail hero put the last of his powers into one mighty punch as the Fire Brothers' ultimate combo became fully charged.
United States Helldrake Nova Smash!
All for One took his foe's fist to the face, while vengeful purple flames assaulted him from the back. The villain was slammed to the ground, fire and smoke clinging to his form. From where Endeavor was standing, All Might had won.
Ha ha ha! I can't believe that worked! And no collateral damage this time! Did you see that, hothead?
Endeavor looked to where his cousin stood to find him collapsed. He ran to Kiyo's side and rolled him over, examining his injuries. Burnt blood caked the inside of his mouth as streams of it had poured down his face. The rise and fall of Kiyo's chest was so diminutive, it didn't look like he was breathing at all. His eyes were open, but there was no focus. There was only emptiness in his now dull eyes.
We beat the bad guy, Kiyo. You gotta get up. Come on, say anything. Anything! This isn't funny!
It was discomforting how still the Spitfire was. Endeavor searched for his cousin's heartbeat. It was difficult to find, and was far too soft.
Medic! Medic!
The UA students had met up in time to see the hero's victory over the villain on the street TV. Other heroes and the media arrived on the scene to cover the historical event. The reporters fell quiet as the skeletal All Might pointed at the camera, backlit by the morning light.
Now, it's your turn.
Everyone thought those words were a threat to the remaining League of Villains and all other criminals. But Shinzo knew what his mentor meant. There was nothing left of the power within All Might. Everything was on him now. Midori had noticed the Insomniac's horrified expression. He wasn't sure how to ease his peers' distress. Kirishima looked out of the field.
Is that... Oh no! Midoriya, look!
Izuku followed Kirishima's pointing hand. The report was focused on All Might, but Endeavor could be seen in the background. The number 2 hero looked mortified as he hurriedly carried a limp form to the nearest ambulance. There was steam coming off Endeavor's face. He was crying. Izuku started crying too. He recognized the body his uncle carried. This video is brought to you by Honey. Honey is a free browser add-on available on Google, Opera, Firefox, Safari. If it's a browser, it has Honey. Honey automatically saves you money when you check out on sites like Amazon, Papa John's, or Kohl's. Wherever you shop, it's a good chance that Honey can save you money. All you have to do when you're checking out at these stores is to click that little orange button and it will scan the entire internet and find discount codes for you. If there's a coupon code, they will find it. And if there's not a coupon code, you can rest assured that you are getting the best price possible. If you install Honey right now, you can save like 50 to 100 bucks right now on your shopping doing nothing. There's literally no reason not to install Honey. It takes 2 clicks. 10 million people use it, 100,000 5-star reviews. Unless you hate money, you should install Honey. Blistering pain lingered in Hisashi's throat and chest as he regained consciousness. Fluorescent lights stung his eyes as the rhythmic sounds of equipment hit his ear. He was dazed and confused as he tried to take in his surroundings. He saw Shoto and Enji. The young man was leaning onto his father's arm, fast asleep, while his father sat quietly with his eyes closed. That's when Hisashi noticed his arms. They were both in casts. The left cast went from his hand to halfway up his bicep, while the right was a simple forearm cast. He also saw Izuku resting on the bed, snoring softly, with a worried expression on his face. Moving in any form was clearly out of the question, so Hisashi took a crack at speaking. Barely a whisper escaped his mouth before the fire-breather briefly succumbed to a mild coughing spasm. The disturbance awoke Hisashi's family. Izuku looked upon his conscious father with a smile and tears in his eyes.
Dad!
Izuku embraced his dad without thinking, causing the injured pro to become wrecked with pain. Enji and Shoto hastily moved to the bedside. Sorry, I'm just so glad you're awake. You've been out for 3 days. Everyone's been so worried. Worried is an understatement. You flatlined when they were putting all your bones back in place. Father, Uncle's alive, and the doctors said he'd get better after some odd weeks of rest and physical therapy. You don't have to become a sobbing mess like you were the other day. Enji looked away as his face turned red in embarrassment. Hizashi smiled. He would have laughed at his cousin's expense, but knew he shouldn't strain himself. The bedridden pro began tapping on his cast in a very specific pattern. Izuku could tell it was Morse code, but couldn't translate it. Shoto's injuries were mostly superficial, and the doctors were able to extract the venom the League used on him easily enough. As for All Might, he's been forced to retire from hero work. He actually stopped by last night to give you those. Pointing at the bedside table, Enji pointed out the vase of sunflowers to Hizashi. Some ease came to the fire breather's mind, knowing that his close friend survived. He began tapping again. The boys watched Enji's intense expression as he translated. Best Genus is in critical condition, but everyone else is expected to make a full recovery, from what I've heard. More tapping from Hizashi. Enji seemed confused by the question. There's been no sightings of Dabi, or any other League members for that matter, aside from Muscular. He turned himself in before passing out in a cell. Why are you so interested in Dabi? That's the second time you've asked about him, specifically. Hizashi hesitated, unsure of how to phrase his thoughts. There was a knock at the door before Midnight entered the room. She was in casual wear and holding a bunch of hydrangeas. Enji noticed the pace of the heart rate monitor had sped up slightly, and that Hizashi sat up a little. Glad to see you're alive, Spitfire. Believe me, he won't be after I wring his neck for his stupidity. You better not. We still have a coffee date to go on, once he's feeling more up to it at least. The UA students felt awkward seeing their teacher flirt with Hizashi. Not wanting to get in the way, Midnight kissed Hizashi on the cheek before seeing herself out. However, an unwelcomed guest let himself in.
I didn't realize they let floozies in hospitals. Did my nephew call you in for a quickie?
That's none of your business, but I'm sure you're just jealous that you can't get any of this. The R-rated hero knew how to deal with disrespectful old men. She did her best to just ignore him.
Just get out of here, tramp. This is a family matter.
Midnight took one last glance at the Spitfire as she left the room. The wrathful expression on his face was only matched by the amount of pain he was in, and no one else was amused by Azulon's presence. Hizashi's heart rate increased again, to a dangerous pace this time. You disgusting pig! That's a pro hero and UA teacher you just insulted.
Women like her are a dime a dozen. You'll know what I mean when you're older.
The eldest Todoroki looked at his son with pride. Enji, on the other hand, leered at his father with contempt.
Now that All Might has stepped down as a hero, Enji, you'll have a lot of work to do to take his place as the new symbol of peace. You better not disappoint me. I don't see how that's possible since you've never been satisfied with what I've done. What?
Everyone was shocked at Enji's audacity. Hizashi smirked. He couldn't wait to see this trouncing. Every single time I got top marks or first place, it was never enough for you. I just wanted to win. You wanted me to dominate. You drilled into my head that it was to bring honor to the Todoroki name. There was never any honor on our name. Not from you, nor Uncle Nensho, and not from me.
I expected this from Hansei, but never from my own son. I made you the man you are today. It's because of me that you became the #2 hero in the first place.
I trained with Hizashi and others to get into UA through the entrance exam. I worked my ass off to get top of my class. You didn't even bother to come to my graduation. You may have been pushing me to do my best, but you were never supportive.
That's all in the past. I fail to understand why you bring it up.
I bring it up because your actions have made a snowball effect on my beautiful snow angel and the incredible children we made together. I learned how to be a father from you, and you are a horrible teacher. I'm attempting to undo what I learned, and undo the harm I've done to my family, to avoid any relapses. My therapist even advised me to make some significant changes.
Therapy? That's for the weak-willed and weak-minded. I raised you better. Get out. You're not welcome here or in my home, and I will have you arrested if I learn that you have contacted any members of my family. As far as I'm concerned, I have no father.
Ajalon was stunned beyond words. Both Midoriyas looked at the old man with shit-eating grins. Shoto gazed at Enji, a sense of pride towards his father welling in his chest. Ajalon left with his tail between his legs. Hopefully, he'd stay gone this time. Hizashi tapped on his cast again.
I know. I should have done that decades ago. I didn't have the strength back then.
That sounded like it felt good, father.
Oh, fuck yeah, it did.
Due to the extent of the damage, Hizashi would be out of the hero game for a long while. Izuku wanted to help his dad with physical therapy and recovery, but both Toshinori and Midnight insisted that they'd help Hizashi. The younger Midoriya had other things to worry about, mainly moving into the new UA dorms. The new dorms came with many surprises. One such surprise was that Mineta survived his week with Hound Dog and would be staying in Class 1A. The great boy wouldn't be the only purple-haired student of the class, though. Shinzo would be the 21st student to join Aizawa's hero course. Nezu saw the boy's potential and agreed with Aizawa to see how far the young man could go. Living with his peers helped Shoto recover mentally from his kidnapping. It was nice to live with his cousin again, especially when he started having nightmares. Being able to curl up into the safety of Izuku's company and bed when the unfavorable memories resurfaced in the night helped put the scarred teen's mind at ease. But not all the memories of his capture were fraught with danger. The blue flames that had protected him in the League's hideout gave him a sense of comfort that he didn't truly understand. Dabi was also having trouble getting asleep. He and the League had been on the run for some handful of days, but his mind would always wander away from the present. Why did he protect Todoroki? Why did he attack Muscular when he had a pro hero on the ropes? How was it possible that now of all times, he was starting to regret his actions?
It's because of that old man.
He didn't expect to see Kiyo at Kimino. Dabi hoped to never see him in person again. Now, he was sitting awake, while the other League members slept. The smile on the Spitfire's face taunted him to the point of boiling his blood. That compassionate and reassuring grin that coached him through training and his youth was toying with him to a torturous degree.
If he's going to waste so many years on me, might as well reward his efforts. I can wait to finish off Endeavor. And after what that fool Muscular put him through, Kiyo will be an easy warm-up for when I face the big guy. And that's our video for the day, so thank you all for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed it. Before I go, a little bit of housekeeping. First, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials has you covered. Our We the Celestials My Hero Academia and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist, so go check them out. We also have some deep dives about anime lore, which is pretty cool stuff too if you want to get more in-depth about different series. Second, on behalf of We the Celestials, I want to thank everyone who was involved in today's excellent content production. Their details can be found in the description below. Give some love to the writer, the audio editor, and the video editor because they do a lot of work here. And finally, if you like what we do here with the Celestials, then I want to extend an invitation to join our team. We only have one caveat: you must be 16 years or older to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interests by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. And that's it for today's video, so thank you all once again for watching and have an amazing day. And as always, be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, and stay awesome. This has been Tim. Mustache out.